Hey guys, so I haven't provided much Cyber Dragon content lately, but I am certainly excited for the eventual release of Clockwork Night in the TCG. Now, I'm not entirely sure when this card's actually coming out for us. Someone told me that it's coming out in Darkwing Blast, which is November, but I couldn't find a confirmation of that, so comment down below if you do actually know anything about it. I mean, it did come out in June in the OCG, and typically it takes a few months for the card to come to here. But you know what? Hopefully it just comes sooner than later, because it is certainly an exciting change for our deck, and it's certainly something that we've actually been hoping for a while now, because this was, I believe, in the anime actually. And so essentially, if you don't know what this card does, it basically turns all face-up monsters on the field to a machine, and that is very important because you have Cyber Dragon as well as the baby Cyber Dragons, which are treated as Cyber Dragon on the field and grave. And you can contact fuse basically all your opponent's monsters into Fortress, basically because they're machines now, right? Now keep in mind though, for baby Cyber Dragons at least, if their effects are negated, they're no longer treated as Cyber Dragon, and Fortress does actually require the specific Cyber Dragon, so then you won't be able to contact fuse into that, and that is of course different than Mega Fleet, which says Cyber Dragon monster, so even if their effects were negated with the baby Cyber Dragons, you could still contact fuse monsters in the extra monster zone for that. Anyways, so basically this serves as our kind of dark ruler no more for us in a way, but better, although of course your opponent will be able to respond to it, and that's why I have dark ruler in this side, and I'll get to my side deck in a bit. And this is all a preliminary list, and I thought I'd just go over the list, just some discussions about the Clockwork Night card, and then provide a few replays, which admittedly I wasn't able to get as many as I would have liked. But anyways, with the deck list, we have the Jizukuru, standard. We're playing the Therian stuff, the 2 King Regulus and the 3 Field Spell, basically because Clockwork Night technically has an effect where you could add Therian, although that's probably not going to happen too much. We're only playing one original Cyber Dragon, because you'll notice that we're not playing Machine Dupe in this list, and the reason for that is because Clockwork Night, so it reduces your opponent's machine monsters by 500 attack and defense, but it also boosts your machine monsters by 500 attack and defense. And at a first glance, you would think, oh wow, that's actually really good. The problem is, because of that attack boost, your baby Cyber Dragons then become too strong, and you can't actually machine dupe them anymore. And while you can still play machine dupe with Clockwork if you want, just because, you know, maybe you try to play it first, but to be honest with you, because of that little conflict, I decided to just ditch the dupe variant entirely, and then we're just maxing out on Galaxy Soldiers. We have Ash for the hand traps, and then just the baby Cyber Dragon ratios, which is something I've always played in terms of 2 next or 3 heroes. You could cut this to 1 if you want, really. The 1 Overload Fusion, no more Anaconda, so we can't send it away. But the thing is, even before Anaconda was released, we were actually playing just 1 Overload Fusion for the most part back then anyway, so it's just something that, you know, if you have it, you have it. If you don't, whatever. We're just doing 3 Storms and Feather Duster, just focusing on board breakers, really. And then the 1 ref system, not as great anymore now that Anaconda's not there. But you know what, it still sometimes comes up. 3 emergency, the 1 foolish I decided to add. Basically, this is a card that I used to play before Prosperities were released, just to enable just a little bit more extra extender. And this gets Therian a bit more live sometimes by sending the hers. And unlike other decks, foolish isn't something that you necessarily start out with all the time. Like, what I mean by that is sometimes you might just want to hold on to it, and then eventually maybe in the next turn rolls around, your core's in the grave, and you can just foolish that hers just so you can add that core back and then start your play that way. So it's a little bit different in our deck. 3 prosperities, I would say this card is pretty mandatory now in Cyber Dragons. Unfortunately, without Anaconda, this deck does quite brick hard sometimes and just has consistency issues, but also just the ability to push. So prosperity, we don't care about that half damage, you know, it's not a Unga Boonga OTK deck all the time, and so this is really important. We have the 1 repair plant and the Cyberload Fusion. This card is something you want to search. For the most part, when you see this in your opening hand, it's usually a bad hand, but you know, it is good, especially when paired with Overflow for those pops. And then of course the 3 imperms, great hand trap right now actually against Sprite, for example, because typically they get the red out, but not the carrot out to try to protect their gigantic. The 3 Therian Field Spell, and of course the 3 Clockwork. In terms of the extra deck, you know what, because this is preliminary testing, I decided to just max out on Chimeratech Fortress. You know, I thought I'd have a little fun. Definitely did not come up yet where I needed all 3, but for now, we're just testing. This is a very, very preliminary list, and it's bound to change. We're playing the 2 Chimeratech Rampage, and then just, unfortunately, 1 Nova, 1 Infinity, and 1 Zeus. I usually play 2 of each of Nova and Infinity, but can't really fit that right now that we're maxing out on Fortress. Pallades doesn't really come up too much. I might have to swap this out. This usually comes up even a little bit more, at least in a machine dupe build, because you just have more level 5s action going on, but not too much in this build. We have the Seeger for that OTK. I decided to just put Phoenix for now. I used to play it before Anaconda was released as my generic link too, and you know what, this deck does struggle against Floodgates, so it's not too bad to have. Then we have Lina. Really, all your monsters other than Therian are their lights, and if this were to get destroyed by battle card effect, you can also add Core, which is nice. Homage, just mandatory in this deck just to get your baby Cyber Dragon Grave, and then the Anima because your Hers and Next are level 1. Now in terms of the side, again, very preliminary and bound to change. Only thing that really sticks out is the rivalry. Typically, I always played Summon Limit as my going first option, and to clarify, this is a blind second deck still, which is what Cyber Dragons traditionally do. And the thing with a rivalry now is because of Clockwork, essentially we're trying to do the same thing that zombie players do with their zombie world and rivalry lock. Basically, because the Clockwork Knight's going to turn your opponent's monsters into machines, but in their hand, their monsters will presumably be not machines, depending on what deck they're playing, and then they'll just be, with rivalry on the field as well, they'll just be locked and they won't be able to summon their other monsters. So that's the reasoning for that. And so basically, that's the list. Again, very early stages, bound to change. You can play machine dupe if you want. Personally, I'm just deciding not to bother with that because it sort of conflicts with this card. But yeah, that's it for the list. So let's just hop into some of the replays that I have. Alright, so this first replay is against Sword Soul, which is a deck that's not that popular anymore post Power of the Elements with Sprite and Tier Elements into the mix. It's still a good deck nonetheless, and the thing is, by the time Clockwork Night comes out for us, who knows what the format's going to be like, and that's always a challenge with testing pre-release cards. Anyways, our Sword Soul player is just going off, bringing out the big boy. Draco Berserker is kind of cool too. Kind of a unique effect. It doesn't negate the monster effect, but it banishes. But you know what? That can still be pretty detrimental. And so now he's going to bring out the Taya. Has another token to bring out the Grandmaster rather. And gonna pass there, and our hand's pretty fun. So basically, we are just gonna go for the back row because we want him to have his monsters so that we can contact fuse for extra monsters. So now we have the Cyber Dragon body on board, we have the Clockwork turning all of them into machines, so we can just contact fuse all of them away and bring out Fortress, which is at 5,000 plus the 500 because of Clockwork, and with Therian, which also gets the attack boost. So that's a really fast OTK with just 2 monsters. I am just clearing a board that normally would have been pretty hard to out if you were playing a different deck. So super fast, but let's just move on to the next one. Alright, so this next replay is against Dynamorphia, which is a bit of a weird deck because they just pay so much life points to do anything. He's going to get the Theories and sets the trap. Prosperity, just to dig some more. It has Super Poly, so that's something you have to be aware of, just in this format at least with Super Poly. So interestingly here, so we're going to start with the Emergency. He's going to play the Trap to Fusion Summon. This is a very nice card to Ash. He has the, I can't pronounce this, but basically it also copies the trap effect and he can just fuse again. And this guy's effect is very confusing to read if you've ever read it. I just can't activate effects based on the life points. We're gonna start with the Foolish, just to, you know, bait some things out. And so we're gonna play the Clockwork Night now, and we're gonna summon the Cyber Dragon. This is kind of weird because he actually decides to pop the Cyber Dragon. I think he might as well have just popped this, because really Cyber Dragon, I mean, that was a special summon. I still have a normal left. I'm not sure why he went with that route. So now he has the Diplos to Foolish. And so this, I make a misplay here. I actually should have just Kaiju this first because I was trying to just Rampage, trying to pop that set and just sort of bait it out and then contact fuse everything and go for a game. Now, the problem is this guy actually prevents me from activating effects, so that was a misplay, but it sort of turns out it works out because he just shotguns it for some reason. So I was lucky there. And so this is going to be an interesting interaction when it comes to Clockwork. When I use Core, and Drago Stupili is going to put that token in the effect. The thing is though, Cyber Dragon Core, it is actually still treated as Cyber Dragon in that instance because Drago Stupilia only negates the activated effect, but the effect of being Cyber Dragon is continuous, so you can actually still contact fuse. So just remember that ruling. And so now we're gonna just contact fuse all of those guys away. That Flower Dino is gonna, you know, put some cards back. It doesn't matter. 5,500 right to the dome, and we still didn't even use the Kaiju, although we should have. And so yeah, let's just move on to the next one. Alright, so this next one is against Shirlin Ishizu cards, which will probably face soon once Darkwing Blast comes out. It's gonna be such a scary deck, and I'm definitely not looking forward to that because this deck is already strong enough as it is, and it's gonna be a quick one because he does just scoop very fast. But essentially we have the tier limit, typical stuff going on. Rhinoheart, that's gonna be out to Foolish, and then Halfness Fusion, and so we have this Lulu Keros. And then this is where the Shizu stuff comes out, where it actually mills your stuff as well. So definitely get prepared for this soon. And he does have that Dragostapile as well. We're going to start with the Prosperity. I mean, technically I could have went for the Infinity play. I think admittedly I was trying to just have fun with Clockwork Night, so I was trying to prioritize that and add that instead. We will just negate the Drago just so we can get core. I decided to just get Emergency for the follow-up. I wanted to just clear his field first. So here, Rhinoheart, I couldn't fuse it away. Someone tell me what I'm missing here. But yeah, he does scoop here really fast, but he has no cards left. I mean, I'm sure he can make some plays, but you know what? I think this was a pretty good position to be in. So let's just move on to the final replay. Alright, so this final replay is against Labyrinth, which is a new trap deck coming in Tactical Masters. He's going to use a Chandra effect to set that Labyrinth trap, and that's really it. So for turn, we draw Lightning Storm, which is great. He's going to use the Labyrinth to summon the Lady of Labyrinth. So we're going to start with the Emergency and get the core, and then we're going to just blow out that back row. He calls Exceeds with D-Barrier, which is foolish because we're trying to Fusion Summon nowadays. He does have Waking the Dragon. I was expecting Ultimate Falcon, but he brings this guy out just to add. Really doesn't do much and just scoops out of Rage here, but I'll show you how you could OTK with this hand and just take a quick look at the hand and see how you would sequence it. Essentially, in no particular order really, because he has no other hand traps. You could summon the core, add the Repair Plant. You could use the this Coliseum to add the King Regulus. Then you could link into, or not link into Mirage, then you can use the Clockwork Night and just contact fuse it away for the 3000 body. Then you can use the Repair Plant, add a Naxxer, and then with Naxxer's effect you would just ditch that King Regulus you added earlier, just so you can special the Naxxer, and then you can just use Overload Fusion, bring out Chimeratech Rampage, use its effects, send 2 Light Machines, and then now you basically have a 3000 attack Fortress, as well as Chimeratech Rampage that can attack 3 times at 6300 total into an empty board, and you would just OTK there. Alright guys, so that was it for the Cyber Dragon deck profile plus replays featuring Clockwork Night. Sorry that it's a little bit short, but it's definitely an exciting card to have, and I look forward to having this in the TCG. So that's it for me. Thanks again to my Patreons as usual, and well, take care guys.